Hey, that's a hell of a way to start the show. Miss Scoozy. Hey, everybody. What's going on? Welcome to the Farzy Show. My name is Mark Farzy. It's a little show that I do called the Farzy Show, and it is presented by the wonderful people of MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Here's what we got today. This is the beginning of Trash Talk Week. And really, the beginning of Trash Talk Week, if you really break it down, started immediately after the Eagles handled the business against the Buffalo Bills this past Sunday night. So we'll get into that conversation because Deebo Samuel standing by his comments from last NFC Championship game about a certain someone being trash, and that certain someone is named James Bradbury, who just had a huge interception against the Bills. Revenge game in that factor and in that regard. Hassan Reddick also said that they were doing a lot of crying after that game, which we all know they're still doing. And one of the beautiful things about our show now being on the Jacob Media Sports Channel is that there are so many San Francisco 49ers fans that are still crying, bitching, and moaning about last year's NFC Championship game. So for me personally, I look at this game as even more of a revenge game than it has been in other revenge games this season, most notably the Kansas City Chiefs. And you might say, well, that was a Super Bowl. Yeah, but you know what? You were going to win. You were going to win the Super Bowl again in that Monday night showdown. That wasn't going to happen. The Eagles themselves were even saying you weren't going to win a ring on Monday night. You don't get a ring for winning Monday Night Football. And that's true. But with this, you get an opportunity to shut up an entire fan base and an entire team that was bitching and moaning after they lost the NFC Championship game. That happens immediately. If you beat the San Francisco 49ers again, barring the idea that maybe they get knocked down to their, punter as their quarterback, I don't know, then they have no right to bitch and moan after the game. It's happened then twice that the Eagles beat the San Francisco 49ers. This is the game. And this is the week that I believe the Eagles have had circled on their calendar, even more so than the Chiefs, even more so than both Dallas Cowboy games. This is the week. This is how big this week is and this game is against San Francisco 49ers. It matters more for home field advantage. It matters more, obviously, for the first round bye. And it matters for instant gratification. You beat the Chiefs, you weren't going to be getting back the Super Bowl trophy. You weren't going to be getting the Lombardi trophy back. You weren't going to be getting the ring. You beat the San Francisco 49ers, especially with the way this season has gone to this point. You have an opportunity to get those things, the first round bye, you have an opportunity to get home field advantage, and you also have an opportunity to shut up an entire fan base and a team that has done nothing but say you were lucky, to put it kindly, since the NFC Championship game of last year. So this is the beginning of Trash Talk Week, if you will, and the biggest week of the Eagles season. Though there may be more difficult games. Going into Dallas, for instance, as much as I don't really like the Dallas Cowboys, that doesn't mean I don't respect what they've done, and especially been able to do with the Eagles at home in Dak Prescott's tenure. So I got to give him that tip of the cap. Still think the Eagles can win that game, but it's going to be a really difficult game. This game at home, after the game the Eagles just had, with the Eagles being banged up, and when I say the week that they just had, I don't just mean the injuries. I mean an overtime victory, fortunately, in the rain against the Buffalo Bills. That proved to be a rather tough opponent, especially going into overtime. Meanwhile, the San Francisco 49ers are coming off a Thanksgiving Day game, so they have a couple extra days of rest, where the Philadelphia Eagles, unfortunately, don't have that at all, and they're coming off a little bit of a tougher week. So we'll get into that whole conversation. Well, let's hear from Nick Sirianni because, hey, folks, believe it or not, Brian Johnson, especially over the last couple of weeks here, has not really deserved a lot of the criticism that has been thrown his way. Has he deserved criticism? Sure. Every coach has. Sean Desai has deserved criticism. Nick Sirianni, obviously, has deserved criticism, right? He's deserved that criticism. Everybody deserves criticism at some point. But Brian Johnson deserves more praise in recent months and recent weeks, that he has received. The Philadelphia Eagles now, with their 37-point performance against the Buffalo Bills, are now averaging more points per game than they did last season with Shane Steichen as the offensive coordinator. Is there talent on this offense? Obviously, there's talent. But what you're asked of as a offensive coordinator is not get in the way. What you're asked of as a offensive coordinator who's also the play caller is to not get in the way. They are now averaging, now this isn't a huge margin by any means, but it's still more. More is more. Brian Johnson is averaging 28.2 points per game. Third highest number in the NFL, 28.2 points per game. Last year, under Shane Steichen, 28.1 points per game. Now, you might say, oh, no, that's a tenth of a point. Yeah, you're right. However, Shane Steichen, a little bit more of an experienced play caller at the NFL level. Brian Johnson, first year doing it. So to show that you haven't gotten in the way, and yes, you've also had injuries, Dallas Goedert most notably there. You also lose your starting right tackle before you take on the Buffalo Bills, which have a pretty good pass rush as well, let's not forget. And somehow you are able to still manage 28.2 points per game, tenth of a point higher than a year ago in your first year as a play caller in the NFL. That is pretty good. So we'll talk about Brian Johnson. We'll talk about his play calling. Nick Sirianni talks about one of the things that makes Brian Johnson a very good offensive coordinator and play caller. We'll get into that conversation. And yeah, like I said, we'll let you hear from Hassan Reddick. He spoke to Dave Uram of KYW News Radio after the Eagles beat the Buffalo Bills, and we'll have that for you. We also have Nick Sirianni's locker room speech to the team. And we're going to get into the 10-9-8 76ers. The 76ers handed LeBron James the biggest defeat of his career last night in South Philadelphia. They beat the Lakers, LeBron James and the Lakers. They beat LeBron James and the Lakers by 44 points. It was insane. Tyrese Maxey couldn't miss from three. You also had Joel Embiid knocking down threes. Marcus Morris was knocking down threes. Everybody was hitting threes. It was like being at a Phillies game in the late night. Everybody hits. Woohoo! 3, 3, 3, raining down upon the LA Lakers last night at the Wells Fargo Center. It was unbelievable. Joel Embiid, a triple-double for him, 11 assists for Joel Embiid. I was mesmerized. But between the legs, bounce pass to Tyrese Maxey, who pulls up for a mid-range jump shot, nails it. Was one of probably the best assists of the night for Joel Embiid. Between the legs, bounces between his legs, Maxey goes behind him, catches it, and a little step back, boom, knocks down the mid-range jump shot. It was awesome. It was absolutely awesome to watch that game. Last night, Jalen Hurts was in the building. He was getting a little ovation there for the crowd, which was incredible. Matty Cord on the mic. From your 10-1, Philadelphia Eagles. It was awesome. It was just so much fun to watch. The Sixers team in general is just so much fun to watch. And did I miss something? Is Nick Nurse wearing a pinky ring? Does that happen? Does he always do that? I don't remember him wearing a pinky ring before, but I believe he's got the pinky ring going. I don't know. But anyway, a pretty incredible win last night. We'll go through the numbers on that, and we'll have some funsies when it comes to all things Philadelphia sports as per usual. Let's start it off here with Nick Sirianni's comments to the team after they were able to improve to 10-1 over the Buffalo Bills. Here's Nick Sirianni in the locker room after the game.
Unbelievable, and it took everyone. Listen, we never know what's going to happen. Zach went down. Christian, you came in and made some great plays, right? Lane had to be down, right? And Jack, you played your ass off. Hovey, another big return. Jalen played a great second half. All right? Josh Joe made some big plays. Guys, it took everyone. And that's why this is the greatest team sport there is. Hey, and let's congratulate BG for his 189.
We didn't play it yesterday, but they asked Brandon Graham after the game. I think it was Sal Palantonio that actually asked the question. They asked BG after the game, "Hey, what was the best part of you? The win? Was it the fact that you were able to get the most games all time as a Philadelphia Eagle, or was it the fact that you guys were able to win the game? Both, in classic Brandon Graham fashion." A couple of things that Nick Sirianni said after the game are huge, and one was, "Jack, you played your ass off." That's the Jack Driscoll obviously being able to step in there and play for Lane Johnson. And although he might not have had the greatest game of all the offensive linemen that the Eagles have, most notably Jason Kelsey with the game that he had in Sunday's game, which was awesome, he still held his own, very much so, in that game and thrown in, hey, you got to be ready to go. Next man up, next man up. He was the next man up, and he had himself a hell of a game. For him to get that shout out was great. Christian Ellis, all of a sudden, in the ball game as a linebacker for this team. That was a little bit surprising. Unfortunately, Zach Cunningham went down in that one, but you are able to get Christian Ellis into the game. Christian Ellis only had one tough play, and it was on the go-ahead touchdown, the last touchdown that the Buffalo Bills scored. They ran a little play action. Christian Ellis bit on it hard, and then Gabe Davis was open in the middle of the end zone for the touchdown. That stuff's going to happen, but for the most part, he came in, and I thought he played serviceably as a linebacker there for the Eagles. That was one play where, unfortunately, they just had his number. But yeah, a lot of guys were able to practice that next man up mentality for this Eagles team in that win over the Buffalo Bills, and they're going to need it again coming up against the San Francisco 49ers, which I still consider, as I open the show, the biggest game of the season. I know everyone will look at that Chiefs game and they'll disagree, but I truly believe that this is the one because it does offer instant gratification and it also has substance to it. As in, you will get home field advantage. You win this game. You don't clinch it, but man, it makes it pretty hard to get everything close to it. First round bye? Absolutely. Still got the big game against the Dallas Cowboys. Still got a game in Seattle against the Seahawks, which is always going to be tough. Tommy DeVito slinging dimes up there in New York. I saw one of the best things I saw on the internet was Tommy DeVito doing the little why thing, like what are you talking about type thing, right? The chef's kiss, the Italian thing, the hand, right? And he said, yeah, he doesn't have a name for it. It has no name. It's just something you do, and they now high five to it, basically. But I saw one of the greatest things on the internet yesterday with Tommy DeVito, and it was him doing the thing, right? And it was him doing that, and then it was the New York Giants saying, well, when Daniel Jones is healthy, we expect him to be our starter. And then it was just everybody from Sopranos going, oh, 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 which is just a beautiful sound. It's just music to my ears. One of the best things I saw on the internet yesterday. So you got 2 games left against the Giants, okay? I don't consider them to be tough games. I consider those to be wins for the Eagles. And hopefully by the time you're rolling around to it, everything's fine. And you're resting guys anyway. But I say all that to say this. It's the biggest game of the season against the 49ers come Sunday at 4:25. Now, you might remember Deebo Samuel calling James Bradbury trash. In case you don't, they asked Deebo Samuel about it at practice yesterday. Deebo Samuel stands by his words.
You termed James Bradbury trash after the game last year. Do you regret that? I mean,
I don't regret nothing I said.
Okay, you stand by it.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. So they're standing by it. You would think maybe a year removed, heat of the moment type thing, but, standing there. For the people on the podcast, Deebo Samuel's just standing there with his arms crossed and delivering his message softly, confidently, all at the same time. Arrogantly is another word that comes to mind. So he's standing there, he's got his arms crossed, he's talking. They still feel like they were robbed. And I mean, any athlete worth a damn, I think, would want to feel robbed as opposed to, the other thing, beaten like they were by this Philadelphia Eagles team. And now they're going to come back into Lincoln Financial Field, well rested, and again, playing some great football, I might add. And they got to face a team that they feel robbed them, cheated them, and absolutely got lucky against them in the NFC Championship game. It should have been them against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl again, as opposed to the Eagles going up against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Well, here's what I talk about when I mean instant gratification. You can shut that argument down by handling the business in this game. This is the game, and the Chiefs game was a big part of this as well, and I said something similar. And by the way, it's supposed to be rainy again on Sunday, so you're going to be looking at 3 straight rainy games that the Eagles have to play in. But I said this a little bit going into the Kansas City Chiefs game, that this is a game that is obviously circled, right? But when you talk about the biggest game of the year, I think you have to obviously have revenge factor into that. You have to have history, which is obviously part of that revenge. And then you also have to have some instant gratification. Like, what's it mean for you in your attempt to get back to a Super Bowl? And this game has direct effect on your standings, first round bye, and obviously that home field advantage in the playoffs. This game has direct impact on that. That is why I think that this is the biggest game of the season. And I know a lot of people, they love to circle the Cowboys as the biggest game of the year. For me, that's just not a thing anymore. The Cowboys have proved just to be irrelevant. Yeah, they might beat you in the regular season. They might split with you in the regular season. But when it comes time to be in the playoffs, does that worry you? No. A team that does have my attention, with all respect, is the San Francisco 49ers. As much as I don't like the cut of their jib after the NFC Championship game, as much as I don't like the things that they have said and the flat-out disrespectful things, an NFL player calling another NFL player trash just doesn't make sense to me. You're all in the same boat there, fella. To call another player trash, who's in the midst of a Pro Bowl season, by the way, seems a little much for Deebo Samuel to say that about James Bradbury. Now, you might want the Eagles to take the higher road, but I'm going to quote Deion Sanders in this. And Deion Sanders has one of my favorite quotes ever about taking the high road. And it's something along the lines of, if you wanted me to take the high road, don't give me directions using the low road. So some might say to Hassan Reddick, and you'll hear him here. This is where he's talking to my old friend Dave Uram. Take the high road. Who cares what the San Francisco 49ers have to say? Who cares what they said after you beat them in the NFC Championship game? Who cares about all that? Who cares? Hassan Reddick cares. And this Eagles team, they all care. Make no mistake about it. They're underdogs already at home, going up against San Francisco 49ers. They've already gone through the entire trash talk since the NFC Championship game. Make zero mistake about it. Hassan Reddick and the Philadelphia Eagles care. Here's Hassan Reddick, including the question from our friend Dave Uram about what it means to play the San Francisco 49ers again this season.
You guys got the 49ers next. I know you just got done playing, but you know they did a lot of talking in the offseason about what happened in the NFC Championship game last year. How much of that has stayed in the back of your mind ahead of next week?
You know, as this season been going on, not much. Talk is cheap. You know, they get to come back in the link. There was a lot of boo-hoos last year, a lot of crying, a lot of what if, a lot of this, a lot of that. They get a chance to come back in here, line that up and prove it again.
They might say, "Oh no, come on, there's just another game. You can't give them the satisfaction that they know you're annoyed now." To hell with that. This is going to be a really tough game for the Eagles. If Lane Johnson's still dealing with a groin injury, if he still has inflammation, right? If that's still a problem, you got Nick Bosa in this game. That's not exactly easy there. This offensive line is going to be tested. This San Francisco 49ers team is a really good football team. Like, let's call it what it is. Forget about all the history. Forget about all the storylines. Let's just go over X's and O's football for a second here. Let's just talk about what matters on the field come Sunday at 4:25. That's a really good football team over there, and that's a really good football team there in the wearing the Philadelphia jersey. All right, forget about all the extra stuff. Nick Bosa's back there. Offensively, you're talking about Christian McCaffrey. You're talking about Brock Purdy, who's putting together a hell of a season, best passer rating in the NFL. You're talking about multiple ways to beat you offensively and defensively. It's incredible what the San Francisco 49ers have done this year, minus a 3-game slip-up where they lost 3 in a row. I can't remember what was the last time the Eagles lost 3 in a row. Jeez, I don't know. But anyway, San Francisco 49ers are putting forth a pretty damn good football team. I give them all the props that they deserve. I acknowledge it. And this is the toughest game the Eagles are going to have this season at home. Now, throw in the extras. Throw in the storylines. Throw in the revenge. Throw in what it means for playoff implication and all that stuff. Throw all that into the pot as well. Biggest game of the year. Love that the Eagles are home for it. Hate that the Eagles are coming off what really proved to be the toughest win of the year. Consider, I mean, maybe the Commanders, but in the Commanders overtime game, they didn't have to play in the rain in this one like they did against the Buffalo Bills. Facing 95 plays was it? Buffalo Bills ran. This team, this is a huge test for the Philadelphia Eagles. Conditioning, and it getting easier for their defense going up against the San Francisco 49ers offense. And all I keep thinking about is how much rest is going to be a factor in this. Jordan Davis, Nick Sirianni was asked about Jordan Davis yesterday because Jordan Davis was out there for a career-high snap count. Absolutely insane. And you then see him go out there and then chase down Josh Allen on the last play of the game, one of the last plays of the game defensively, one of the last plays of the game in overtime. That shows you the conditioning that was a factor maybe a year ago is not a factor this season. And now you're going to be asking this entire defense after the plays that they just went up against with the Buffalo Bills to go out there and chase down Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk and these guys. It is going to be a tough ask. If I'm Nick Sirianni, I'm like demanding guys get whirlpools. Just relax. Relax the muscles. Just chill out this week as they get ready for this game against the Niners because it is going to be a tall order. The last time I was this concerned with conditioning was when Mark Sanchez and the Philadelphia Eagles went into Dallas on Thanksgiving. And this was in a positive light for the Eagles. The Eagles played at home before that Thanksgiving Day game with Mark Sanchez before he went into Dallas. And before that, Dallas was in New York, was in North Jersey for Sunday Night Football where Odell Beckham made that miraculous catch over his head one-handed. They got on the flight at 1 a.m. in Dallas, flew to Dallas, got home Monday morning, obviously, had 2 days of practice. 2 days after that, sleeping in your own bed for like 2 nights, and then had to play the Eagles, and they got stopped. I was like, Cowboys are going to stand a chance in this game. You're going to turn around and play? No, good luck to you. Mark Sanchez and the Chip Kelly Eagles blew out the Dallas Cowboys in that game. This is nowhere near that type of turnaround, obviously, for the Eagles, but coming off that kind of game, while the 49ers have had their feet up since Thursday night, last Thursday night, it's a little concerning. Hopefully it doesn't matter because it's still a long layoff for both teams. It's still regular rest there for the Eagles. But, man, with the amount of games and the amount of plays this defense had to play, and now they got to go take care of business against the 49ers offense, that's going to be tough. That is going to be tough. But the counter I say to that, for that being a factor, is get back to that circle on the schedule. This is the game. And listening to Hassan Reddick lets me know that this team already has plenty of bulletin board material up to make sure that any fatigue, any tiredness, any of it is just going to go out the window because the adrenaline is going to take over right before kickoff, and this team is going to try to eat against the San Francisco 49ers. Ultimately, that's what I'm here for. That's what I can't wait for. Very much looking forward to this kickoff on Sunday. One more thing from Nick Sirianni here. You heard him there in the locker room after the game. You just heard from Hassan Reddick. But here's a man named Nick Sirianni who named Brian Johnson not only his offensive coordinator but his play caller, having never been a play caller before. Now, Brian Johnson this season has underwhelmed, and I'll say that much. He has underwhelmed for the majority of the season. I said going into the year, the two biggest question marks are named Brian Johnson and Sean Desai. Sean Desai I felt like he's hit home runs this season, especially with second half adjustments. Second half adjustments offensively have been pretty damn good for the Philadelphia Eagles this year. Pretty damn good for the Philadelphia Eagles this year. We've seen the flashes from Brian Johnson with creative plays, seeing the jet sweep thrown in there where we don't see that hardly ever, the fake bubble screens. I feel like they've almost taken advantage of the fact that Jalen Hurts loves to default to those bubble screens, loves checking down to those bubble screens, and being able to use the fake bubble screen like they did on the Devontae Smith touchdown, like they did in I think it was the Rams game as well. They used the fake bubble screen to Dallas Goedert, and then it went to A.J. Brown. they've done a great job of being able to use that either as a decoy or be able to actually use it to at least stretch the field a little bit like they did against Kansas City Chiefs. But now Brian Johnson, on average, has scored more points than Shane Steichen in his first year as a play caller for Brian Johnson here. How does it all come together? What is it about Brian Johnson that has helped this offense? And what is it about Brian Johnson and Nick Sirianni likes in him as a offense coordinator, as a play caller? Here's Nick Sirianni on all that.
Go ahead, Tim, and then Jeff.
Hey, Nick, you have a decent sample size now of working with Brian Johnson as offensive coordinator. What makes him unique as a coach and a play caller?
Yeah, again, I just think it's he's just calm in all scenarios. He doesn't, whether the things are going really well, or whether things aren't going so well, he just stays in the moment. I think he's very steady. You can tell that he has played quarterback at a very high level. Because that's what you look over at Brian in certain situations, and he's stoic, and he's just the same guy the whole entire time. He'll have fun and enjoy a touchdown, but he's also just thinking about the next play and the next series and all those different things. I just feel like that is a calming factor to everybody when Brian's calling plays, is that demeanor that he has. Again, I obviously wasn't good enough to go to Utah, played at Mount Union, but I could see how calming he would be in a huddle when everything's on the line, because he would have this. It's a calming confidence. He's confident. He has a calming presence, and I can see. And I really think that's a really good quality that Brian has.
That seems to me to be something that comes in handy mostly in the second half, because as great as it is to have these comebacks that the Eagles have been able to put together over the course of the season, I would like the feet up, relaxed, and oh wow, the Eagles blow out this team. I would like one or two games that you kind of have that Dallas Cowboys type of thing go on there, where your point differential is enormous. But not having it this year. I mean, if you look through the Eagles' schedule real quick, let's just look through this real quick, right? You look through the Eagles' schedule this season, and the point differential is obviously not great. And the come-from-behind wins are, they're exciting. But I made the joke yesterday when we were on Fox 29 for the Balds segment about just like another example of being down 10 points, being down in the second half, and the Eagles are down to, they're trailing. They come back and they win. I wait, like I did in 2017, as I was telling you guys yesterday. I wait for that moment where the Eagles are just going to get the big turnover, and they're going to be able to come back in that second half. They're going to slam the door with a defensive sack, with a sack. They're going to slam the door with an interception, a forced fumble, whatever the case may be, a touchdown pass to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, whoever it might be. They just keep on pushing. And it's something that you don't want to get too comfortable with. But looking at these games this season, they win by 5 against the Patriots. They only ended up, winning by 6 against the Vikings. One of the most comfortable wins of the season was against the Buccaneers in Week 3, and that was on short rest, if I'm mistaken. They went 25-11 in that one, so they win by 2 touchdowns. Commanders in overtime. Scary. They win by 9 over the Rams. They had to come back in the second half, which you remember. They lose to the Jets. We won't even talk about it. They beat the Dolphins of all teams comfortably, holding them to only 17 points. How the hell does that happen? They score 31. Then, again, the Commanders, 38-31. Then they beat the Cowboys. Then they beat the Chiefs, obviously, in a close one, only by 4. And then they beat the Bills by 3. So these are pretty close games. I would love for a 20-point win. I would love 20 points in the first half. That would be fun. I talk about focus a lot because I really do feel like that is what, focus and execution is really what propels great teams to be great. I mean, talent is the obvious one, but when talent has focus and executes properly, you're not beating that. I would love for that to be the case right out of the gate. For all of a sudden, the Eagles march down the field, first possession of the game. They don't win the coin toss. They march down the field. They get a 9-play, 75-yard touchdown pass or whatever. Tush push in this regard. I would love for that to be the case each and every week. And then also be clutch, because the Cowboys, I mean, would you rather be the Cowboys and lead the NFL in point differential but be unable to beat anybody that's over 500? I wouldn't rather be that team. I feel like if we were, again, let's live in this horrible universe for a second. I feel like if we were Cowboys fans, we would know we have fool's gold, and that wouldn't be any fun. Got to find a way to beat the good teams. And then it's like, well, you'll win in the playoffs. No, you won't. It hasn't been the case in any recent era of the Dallas Cowboy football, whether it's the Tony Romo era, whether that's the Quincy Carter era. What? Yeah, how about that name, huh? You're welcome. Or that be the Dak Prescott era. And for us, it's fun because they get all this fool's gold and they think it's real gold, and they're like, you guys know that's just the spray painted crap, right? No, not this year. Not this year. Oh, no. That's just spray painted crap. No, it's not spray painted. No, that's pretty nice. You just smell it. Just give it a whiff. But the Eagles, I don't mind them winning these close games because that means they're just practicing for clutch moments, and there's no more clutch moments in their own playoffs. That's where I'm at with this Eagles team, and that's where I'm at going into the San Francisco 49ers, and that's where I'm at right now with Brian Johnson. It's okay to acknowledge the guy's had his struggles this season, and he hasn't been exactly the most comfortable person this entire season watching. No matter what Nick Sirianni says about his own attitude and his own demeanor, that's all great. And to be here in the huddle at Utah is a little bit different than being the play caller for an NFL football team on the sidelines at Lincoln Financial Field. I'm glad that he's got the relationship he's had with Jalen Hurts for as long as he's had. Right now, he has done something that I really asked of him and wanted him to do going into the season, which is not get in the way. The proof's in the pudding right now. Bottom line, yes, he has a lot of talent. Yes, A.J. Brown has gone on a historic run. Yes, a lot of the offense has done well because of Jalen Hurts. No better example of that than the throw to Olamide Zaccheaus to get their lead, the first lead of the ball game against the Buffalo Bills. Jalen Hurts literally running that play. Brian Johnson didn't have much to do with that one. And with this offense, it's a weird thing as to how much credit or blame you can give to really either Nick Sirianni or Brian Johnson, because Jalen Hurts does a lot at the line of scrimmage. One of the things that came out late in Donovan McNabb's career, who's the longest tenured Philadelphia Eagles quarterback of my life, right? Ever. I think that's the right word. Not just my life, but ever. Watching him play, there was a story that came out later in his career about how he doesn't have the authority to change things at the line of scrimmage. You don't really see him checking down or audibling or anything like that. It was something that just seemed to be, this is the play we're running. This is what we're going with. Andy Reid's calling it. This is what we're running. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But we certainly see a lot more of that from Jalen Hurts. And we'll see the check downs with the bubble screens, as I mentioned earlier. We'll see check downs to runs, the RPO being a part of the offense again, and that mesh point not exactly looking crisp, unfortunately. But then we'll also see him behind the line of scrimmage, like he did on that Olamide Zaccheaus play, directing traffic. Now, that's something that Donovan did do, so I want to acknowledge that. But seeing him call plays and change plays and then manipulate plays after the snap is spectacular. So he throws that touchdown pass to Olamide Zaccheaus. Am I supposed to look over at Brian Johnson and be like, great job, pal? No, that's all about the talent you have on the football field. That's all about the smarts of Jalen Hurts. So you have an offensive-minded head coach. You have somebody else calling the plays, and you have a quarterback that loves to improvise, and a quarterback that's also smart enough to change the play at the line of scrimmage when he recognizes what the defense is doing in front of him. That's a quad judgment. That's what that is. Between Brian Johnson's play calling, between the smarts of Jalen Hurts, between the checks of Jalen Hurts, and then an offensive-minded head coach. Like, that's dividing your blame by 3 or 4. That's dividing your blame by 4 and your praise by 4 as well. I think when it all comes down to it, though, you got to look at the quarterback above everything else. And he's just spectacular. Because none of that happens without Jalen Hurts, a great quarterback. None of that happens. And it hit me last night when I was watching the Sixers game and they announced Jalen Hurts was there. And they're sitting on the sideline, sitting on the court side and waves to the crowd and all that. I know Joel Embiid is underachieved in the playoffs, so let's get that out of the way. But Jalen Hurts right now is the front runner for the MVP. Bryce Harper has won an MVP while being a Philadelphia Philly. Joel Embiid has won an MVP, the reigning MVP. It is a great time, a fun time, an exciting time. And exciting is probably the least of it, but to feel like your team has a chance to win a championship with the Eagles, I certainly feel like that about the Phillies. And Joel Embiid and the Sixers, I don't feel like it's this year. I feel like next year is really where we'll talk about them as a real contender to win a title. But we are in a great spot right now in Philadelphia, considering Jalen Hurts is right now the front runner to win an MVP after an MVP caliber season a year ago. After getting a team to a Super Bowl, by the way. Unfortunately, seeing the Philly season end the way it did this year. But I still feel like this team has an opportunity to compete for another World Series. And knowing that I think you're within a year or two of being a legit NBA title contender, I think is a great thing. And the Flyers are doing much better than I thought they ever would this season. So that's something, too. But it hit me last night when I'm watching the Sixers. Like, man, I rarely try to put the sports together. Everything is their own separate entity, especially with the level of interest from the fan base itself and our listening and viewing audience. I try to separate it, but it's just to be one big city like this with these players playing at this level, it's fantastic. And it's not always like that, as most people know, but just to acknowledge it and appreciate it for a second, it's pretty spectacular. But I'm watching the Sixers last night, and they got off to an incredible start in this game last night, and they kept it. They scored 32 in the first quarter, 36 in the second, 30 in the third, and 40 in the fourth quarter. They closed out the game, outscoring, with bench players, by the way, through a lot of it. They outscored the Lakers 40-14 in the fourth quarter for a 138-94 victory over the LA Lakers. Anthony Davis, LeBron James, both held to under 20 points. In the first quarter, when the Sixers really started taking control, because they were down, I think, 5 points, and then they just took control. Just absolutely took control. When they did that, I went back and I looked. I was like, hold on a second. Did the Lakers only win like 4 games so far this season? I thought they were like close to the Sixers. Sixers went into last night's game with 11 wins. The Lakers had actually won 10. And now, of course, they dropped to 10-8. And I went, did I miss something? The Lakers absolutely sucked this year? What am I missing here? I was like, I thought LeBron was playing well, and he has been playing well. But the Sixers just shot the lights out. So they hand LeBron James his worst loss of his career. Joel Embiid gets a triple-double. Tyrese Maxey drops a game-high 31 points. Embiid had 11 assists with 11 rebounds to go with his 30 points. It's the 7th time this season that you've had Maxey and Embiid. 6 or 7 times this season where they both dropped 30 points. That's pretty amazing. You also had Marcus Morris come off the bench to go 4 for 5 from beyond the arc for 16 points. Bradley Beal had a season-high 12 points for him. 6 rebounds to go along with that. A couple of assists, 3 assists. It was amazing. Robert Covington, what did he get in the face of? It wasn't Anthony Davis. Who did he get in the face of? Oh, it was Dave. Yeah, it was. No, it wasn't. No, who was it? I'm losing my mind. It'll come to me. It'll come to me. But he was teeing up somebody on the perimeter, on the wing, and knocked the ball out of bounds off the player, and the Sixers got the ball. And Robert Covington was all sorts of jazzed up for it. It was awesome. And Bradley Beal loved it too. By the way, in terms of just the will to win, guys, Bradley Beal is such a upgrade over Tucker. It's not even funny. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. So watching the game last night, I realized that they hand LeBron James the worst loss of his career, 44 points, biggest loss of his career. They took the Lakers' soul. Did you see the Lakers in the locker room after the game? They're asking LeBron James, well, what do you need to do? What does the team need to do to make sure this doesn't happen again? And LeBron James is just like, fix a lot of things. We have to fix a lot of things. A lot of things that have to be fixed. Like, what in particular has to be fixed? A lot. LeBron James, a little bit of a death stare. Then they went into the locker room after the game, asking other guys, hey, what happened to that one? They made a lot of threes, and we couldn't hit bleep. And that was the end of it. They looked so dejected. And I don't care that they're the Lakers of modern day. Whenever I see the Lakers, just like the Celtics, and unfortunately we haven't seen this a lot lately, but when the Celtics struggle, I bask in it. I just enjoy every second of it, and that's what we were able to get into in this game after the Sixers won 138-94 last night. After the game, Nick Nurse was addressing the media, just talked about how Maxey and Embiid have come along this season with their two-man game and how much ball movement has been a big part of this. And really, it was just, a dominating effort, mostly because the Sixers in this game were able to go 22 of 46 from beyond the arc to shoot just under 48% from three, and then shot 50% from the floor. That's a pretty good night for the 76ers. Pretty good night. Sixers now 12-5 on the season, and they're going to be back at it tomorrow night against the Pelicans in New Orleans. They'll take on the New Orleans Pelicans for an 8 o'clock tip-off. The 12-5 76ers. Not too bad. Hey, let me tell you right now about the great people at MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. Make sure you use promo code Farzy at MyBookie.ag to get involved on all they have to offer at MyBookie.ag. That's MyBookie.ag. MyBookie is fantastic. MyBookie.ag. So make sure you take advantage with promo code Farzy and get redeemable up to $1,000 cash bonus when you bet using MyBookie.ag. MyBookie has all the great stuff to offer. When it comes to MyBookie and use promo code Farzy, $1,000 redeemable. You can bet on anything, anytime, anywhere at MyBookie.ag. So you want to get involved, not just in the world of sports, but you also want to get involved a little bit. TV, politics, you can bet on it all at MyBookie.ag. That's MyBookie.ag. And make sure you use promo code Farzy for redeemable up to $1,000 cash bonus. Let's get into the chat check and see how you wonderful people are doing on this fine day. Patrick Beverly. Did I say Beal? Did I say Bradley Beal? Patrick Beverly. Patrick Beverly. Moron. I'm an idiot. Mi scusi. There you go. Let's see what you guys have to say. I'm going to start it off with the Jacob Show. Jacob Show. What's going on there, Jacob Media? Wine, Niners wine. I know you got to be excited for this game. Farzy on his second espresso this morning. What's up, Adams? Exploits. Nice to see you. Just one. I have cut back. Just one espresso before the show now. I've cut back. Feel like it's important to have self-control. So one espresso. After the show, 7 espresso. No, just one. Twiz, what's up, man? Mint Diggity. Great name. Bring on the whiners. Absolutely. King Pooty TV, 40 whiners been crying a river for over a year. It's hilarious how TV people act like Purdy got hurt on his way to the game. Nobody blames Boy Genius for attempting to block Hassan with a tight end. That's a great point. Kyle Shanahan has this aura around him that he's some offensive genius. And you know what? It could be a very cowboy type thing for Shanahan because he's associated with choking. Offensive coordinator, the worst choke job in NFL history. You choke like that 28-3 in the Super Bowl. I think that's the biggest choke job in NFL history. So you definitely look at it like that. And then last year they get down to their fourth quarterback. I mean, still not great. This year probably do the same thing in terms of choking, not down to their fourth quarterback, not wishing harm on anybody. But I just don't see it. I just don't see it. But hey, good luck to you. Good luck to you. No way Davis is 335 pounds. Good for him chasing down Josh Allen. Yeah, he's a big boy. He's a big boy. Niners could use play action, and all the crap that our defense didn't fall for last time will fall for it. Won't fall for it this time either. Better block Reddick with more than a tight end. Yeah. Any news on Lane or Goddard, says Twiz. Goddard is pushing. I saw, was it Josina Anderson now of CBS that said that it looks like Goddard is pushing to play? I would certainly hope that's going to be the case. Lane Johnson, I'm expecting to play. The thing is with Dallas Goedert, I expect him to play. I don't expect him to play. I love the idea that they're going to try to break it down to the last minute. Lane Johnson, I do expect to play because I think they intentionally held him out against the Buffalo Bills, thinking we can win this game without him. We need him more against the 49ers. Let's make it a precaution. I've heard it reported through other outlets that that's exactly what they did with Lane Johnson, that it was precautionary, and they have a bigger game coming up on the schedule, a conference game coming up on the schedule. Nick Bosa coming up on the schedule. So, yeah, I think that's what they're doing. Top of the morning, says NJ Fishing. What's up, NJ Fishing? Love the energy, Farzy. Espresso it up, baby. Campbell. What's up, Campbell? Luck will run out. Come on. I am so sick and tired of the Luck comments about the Philadelphia Eagles. And I got into this one with my man Eitan yesterday on Fox. What are you talking about, Luck? This is 10-1. 10-1. That ain't 10-1 2 years in a row, ain't luck. Have there been lucky things? Yes. Has every NFL team with a good record have luck on their side? Yeah, a little bit. But 10-1 ain't luck. You want to talk about they're lucky to be 500. They're lucky to be 7-3. They're lucky to be 6-4. You want to talk about that? Yeah, sure. But not lucky to be 10-1. I'm sorry, 6-5. They're lucky to be 6-5. That adds up to 11. There you go. 7-4. They're lucky to be 7-4. No. 10-1. Best team in the NFL. Third highest scoring team in the NFL. Thank you, Brian Johnson. They're pretty damn good at what they do. Most clutch quarterback in the NFL? Yeah, they're pretty damn good at what they do. Put some damn respect on it, people. Adam's exploit. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. The connection's been a little weird. I don't know. I think it's on my end. I'll take full responsibility. I got to do a better job putting my Wi-Fi in a better position to make plays. Anyway, let's jump over to the Farzy Show page. What's going on, Farzy Show page? Nice to see ya. Yeah, well, that's jumping around quite a bit. April. Morning, April. T-Bro, when we beat the Whiners, will the Birds finally get the respect nationally that we're the best team in the NFL? I certainly hope so, considering the Whiners were the last team to be ranked number 1 in the power index of the ESPN, while the Eagles were 7th. Really? Here's what I'll say. The only stat that matters is W and L. Those are the only stats. Wins and losses. The only stats that really matter. You could put the Eagles against any team. Top echelon teams, the Ravens, you could put up there, the Cowboys, the 49ers, right? You could look at those teams in the NFL right now and be like, oh, those are pretty damn good teams. The Chiefs even, You can look at those teams and say, oh, well, what happens if they meet when it really matters? Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen when it really matters. The Eagles are going to win. Because no matter what the challenge has been in front of the Eagles, they win. There's the one challenge that no team can overcome. That's a 4-0 turnover differential between the Jets getting 4 turnovers and the Eagles getting 0. The Jets taking the ball away 4 times, the Eagles giving the ball away 4 times, the Eagles taking the ball away 0 times, and the Jets giving the ball away 0 times. That's something you're not overcoming. No team's overcoming that. The Eagles weren't able to overcome that in the Jets. And as I said, the Eagles don't have bad games. The Eagles don't have terrible games. The Eagles don't have letdown games. The Eagles don't have trap games. The Eagles have letdown halves and trap halves and terrible halves. and awful to watch halves, gut-wrenching halves. And then they come out in the second half, and they're like, all right, we're going to start playing football now. Oh, another comeback from 10 points down. This is getting boring. The challenge, every single game that's in front of the Eagles, they overcome it. It's pretty spectacular, except for 4 turnovers. Nobody's overcoming that. Smoke him if you got him. Mally, what's going on? Sean Kilrain, what's going on? Wouldn't be surprised if Sirianni is play calling again. Jason A., I think he's definitely more involved than we're led to believe. I think he's more involved than we're led to believe. Whoa, April. More of this, please. Had a Chiefs fan who was talking so much trash last week. They came in yesterday to concede defeat. It felt so good. Damn. Awesome, April. Thank you. You just made my day. What else we got here? April. The Eagles have to win this game, otherwise the Red Cowboys fans will never shut up. Yeah. There's must-win games, and then there's must-win for fans. This game is a must-win for fans. The Eagles can still lock up home field advantage throughout the playoffs in the first round bye if they lose this game, but then that means that we got to suffer. Oh, boy, do we got to suffer. Red Cowboys will never shut up no matter what happens. They are that dedicated to being annoying. Well put, Sean Gillespie. Main problem with the whiners is never acknowledging their coach had a tight end protecting their quarterback last year. Yeah, not great. Not great. Eagles secondary giving up a lot of points. But come through in the end. I swear I'll look at Frank Reich at the end of this season. That's hilarious. Dead wrong about Frank Reich, wasn't I? You guys were saying in the chat yesterday, you're going to fire Frank Reich? And I'm like, no, they're not going to fire. That'd be ridiculous to fire Frank Reich after, 11 games? That's ridiculous. He's fired. Like 2 hours after the show, fired. Here's what I found really interesting, though. Adam Schefter said yesterday on ESPN that this was absolutely a mutual parting of ways. Frank Reich wanted nothing to do anymore with the Panthers situation, and the Panthers really just didn't want Frank Reich. So I think Frank Reich kind of had a moment of like, guys, what are we doing here? Now they got to pay his ass. That's the dream job right there. That's a dream to, like, not like your boss. Your boss doesn't like you. It doesn't work out well at all, but you still get paid? All right. See you in Italy. At least that's just what I would do. Eagles make adjustments this year as long as the Sixers don't give up on the damn playoff game. Yep, I agree. I Shine 101. We have Beal. Again, I'm an idiot. Debo never heard question. Bring on the whiners. I'm sorry for 49. Oh, 10-1. April says 10-1 ain't lucky, homie. You're damn right. Shalko Dylan never heard the question. Bring on those whiners. I'm sorry, 40 whiners. Yeah, 49ers. The question was, you said what you said. Do you take it back at all? Nope. That was the question, and that was the answer. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are fantastic, as per usual. I'm getting even more of this. Refs are on the Eagles' payroll. Yeah. Ray Croxton, I'm really baffled as to why we'd be home underdogs. I'm baffled as well. But, man, I don't get it. I don't get it. It's a dangerous thing to put the Eagles in the underdog category if you're the opponent coming to Lincoln Financial Field. Before I get to the Morning Rush, brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Let me tell you right now about the wonderful people at PHL Sports Station, Philadelphia Sports Station, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsStation.com. Here's what we got for your Morning Rush today. Philadelphia 76ers off today, back at it tomorrow against the Pelicans. The Philadelphia Flyers, ladies and gentlemen, they're back at it tonight against the Carolina Hurricanes. 7:30 puck drop tonight in South Philadelphia. The 11-9-1 Philadelphia Flyers taking on the Hurricanes, who were 12-8-0 on the season. How about Travis Sanheim with 16 points in the early goings of the season? Travis connecting with 11 goals. Not too bad for the Philadelphia Flyers. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Again, tomorrow, don't forget, Very special show. Jameer Nelson will be joining the show. 20 years since the undefeated season with the St. Joe Hawks. Also the GM of the 76ers G League affiliate. The Delaware Blue Coats will be on the show. We'll talk about the development of the guys down there, talk about the development of Jaden Springer, talk about the development of Tyrese Maxey as well. We'll cover it all with Jameer Nelson on tomorrow's show. Jim Hyder produced the program, did a wonderful job as per usual. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. See you guys tomorrow.